City that vanished overnight. The mystery of the lost Roanoke colony. They called it the first American ghost story, a tale so mysterious that even after 4 centuries, historians, archaeologists, and storytellers still whisper its name with awe and unease. The Roanoke colony, once a bright symbol of England's hope in the New World, simply disappeared. No smoke rising, no bodies found, no trace of struggle. Only one word, carved into a wooden post, remained: CROATOAN. It all began in the late 16th century when Queen Elizabeth I of England dreamed of expanding her empire across the Atlantic. The idea was bold: to build a permanent English settlement on the coast of what is now North Carolina. In 1584, explorers Philip Amadas and Arthur Barlow were sent by Sir Walter Raleigh to survey the region. They returned with glowing reports of fertile land, friendly natives, and an endless supply of natural resources. The Queen was delighted. Raleigh was knighted and granted permission to claim the new land in her name. The first attempt, a harsh beginning. The first English settlers arrived in 1585, led by Sir Richard Grenville. They landed on Roanoke Island, a small island off the coast of present-day North Carolina's Outer Banks. The plan was simple: build a fort, establish relations with the native tribes, and prepare for more settlers. But almost immediately, things began to go wrong. Food was scarce, the weather was harsh. Misunderstandings with the local CROATOAN and CROATOAN tribes turned into violent conflict. When Grenville returned to England for supplies, he left a small group behind to maintain the settlement. But when he came back the next year, the colony was deserted, every man gone without a trace. Still determined, Raleigh refused to give up. He organized another expedition, this time under John White, a skilled artist and cartographer. The second colony, hope and new beginnings. In 1787, White set sail with 117 settlers, including families, women, and children, people who truly intended to live and build a new life. Among them was White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare, who gave birth to Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. For a while, it seemed the colony might succeed. The settlers rebuilt the fort, planted crops, and tried to mend relations with nearby tribes. But soon, trouble returned. Hostile natives attacked, food ran short, and morale began to crumble. Desperate, the colonists urged White to sail back to England for help. White reluctantly agreed, leaving behind his family and a promise: he would return as soon as possible. A delayed return. But fate had other plans. When White reached England in late 1587, the nation was preparing for war. The Spanish Armada, the most powerful naval fleet in the world, was advancing toward England. Every available ship was seized for battle. White's pleas to return to Roanoke were ignored. His supply ships were commandeered for war. It would take 3 long years before he could return. Finally, in August 1590, White landed again on Roanoke Island on the very day of his granddaughter's 3rd birthday. But what he found left him speechless. The settlement was empty. Houses were dismantled, the fort was abandoned. There were no signs of violence, no bones, no belongings, no graves. Everything had been carefully removed or taken. Only one word carved into a wooden post remained: CROATOAN, the name of a nearby island and a friendly native tribe. On another tree, the letters CROW were scratched roughly into the bark. White took it as a sign that the settlers had moved to CROATOAN Island, now called Hatteras Island. He wanted to go there immediately, but a violent storm forced the ships to retreat. He never saw Roanoke or his family again. The endless mystery. For centuries, the disappearance of the Roanoke colony has puzzled historians. What really happened to those 117 men, women, and children? Several theories emerged over the years. Integration with native tribes. The most widely accepted theory is that the settlers, desperate and starving, sought refuge with nearby tribes such as the CROATOAN or Hatteras Indians. Early European explorers later reported encounters with Native Americans who had gray eyes, spoke English words, and practiced European farming methods. Could these have been descendants of the lost colonists? Mass relocation and death. Some historians believe the colonists tried to move inland toward the Chesapeake Bay. If they did, they might have perished from disease, hunger, or conflict before reaching safety. But again, no physical evidence has ever been found. Spanish attack. Another possibility is that the Spanish, who still claimed much of the Atlantic coast, discovered and destroyed the English settlement to prevent further colonization. But no physical evidence has ever been found. Starvation and cannibalism. A darker theory suggests the colonists succumbed to starvation or disease and resorted to cannibalism before dying out completely. But again, no remains were discovered to confirm it. The word that haunted history. The word CROATOAN itself became legendary. Over time, it began to appear in strange and eerie circumstances. When the writer Allan Poe was found delirious on the streets before his death in 1849, legend claims the word CROATOAN was scrawled in his notes. When the famous stagecoach robber Ambrose Bierce disappeared in Mexico in 1913, the word supposedly appeared carved on his bedpost. Even in the journal of the doomed ship Carroll A. Deering, which ran aground in 1921 with its crew missing, the word CROATOAN was said to have been written on the cabin wall. Coincidence, or a curse that followed the name across centuries? Modern clues and discoveries. In recent decades, archaeologists have returned to Roanoke Island and Hatteras Island in search of new clues. Using advanced technology, they've uncovered shards of English pottery, weapons and tools, artifacts dating to the same period as the Roanoke settlers. One site, discovered on Hatteras Island, contained a 16th century gold signet ring, a writing slate, and fragments of European ceramics. These finds suggest that at least some settlers did indeed move south to CROATOAN territory. Meanwhile, another excavation inland, known as Site X, revealed more artifacts from the same time, supporting the idea that the colony may have split into groups, each seeking survival in different directions. Still, without written records or DNA evidence, no one can say for sure what became of the lost colony. The legacy of Roanoke. Today, Roanoke Island stands as both a historical site and a symbol, a haunting reminder of humanity's ambition, resilience, and vulnerability. The story of the lost colony has become part of America's cultural mythology, retold in countless books, films, and even television shows. But beyond the mystery, the Roanoke story is also about beginnings. Though the colony vanished, it laid the groundwork for future English settlements, most famously Jamestown, founded in 1607. Without the lessons learned from Roanoke's failure, England might never have succeeded in colonizing North America. The final thought. Imagine standing on Roanoke Island today at dusk, the waves crashing softly, the pine trees whispering in the wind. You can almost hear faint voices in the distance, the echoes of children playing, tools striking wood, a mother calling her child home. Somewhere in that thick coastal fog lies the memory of 117 souls who dared to start a new world and vanished without a trace. 4 centuries later, the mystery still breathes through the wind that moves across the island, whispering that single word left behind: CROATOAN.